The New Mexico desert is the setting for a study on aurora-like phenomena being carried out by two physicists, Jane Foster and Eric Selvig, an intern, and Darcy Lewis. They drive towards a big tornado, the lightning storm that appears out of nowhere, to investigate. A man within the swirl is struck by the van, which causes them to stop. A well-built blonde man who is only partially conscious is discovered. Welcome to our channel, Movie Recap, subscribe, and let's dive in. Spoilers ahead. Odin tells the story of a war in Jotunheim in 965 AD between the Frost Giants and the Asgardians, during which the Jotuns used the casket of ancient winters to employ the bitter winter to freeze and kill innocent people, and the Asgardians later came to their aid. The Asgardian warriors triumph, seize the potent casket of ancient winters, and depart for their home realm. Later on, Odin is conversing with his two sons, the animated Thor and the more reflective Loki. Although both of them are deserving, only one may rule Asgard, according to Odin. Years pass, and Thor, who is now an adult, is getting ready for a ceremony when he will be officially recognized as the crown prince. Loki enviously observes. Odin feels the intrusion before he can carry out the declaration. 3 frost giants breach the casket's safekeeping. The destroyer, who then appears, kills all 3 burglars by preventing them from regaining possession of the casket. Odin looks calm as he examines the wreckage, while Thor is enraged and ready to fight. Odin is in disagreement. When they arrive at the Bifrost Bridge, Thor gathers Loki and his close allies Volstagg, Fandral, Hogun, and Sif. The 6 are sent to Jotunheim, the cold, crumbling wasteland that is the home of the Frost Giants after Heimdall permits their passage. The Asgardian soldiers are taunted by Laufey, who they face. The 6 are surrounded by other frost giants as Laufey gives them the chance to leave quietly. They get ready to go after Loki is able to convince his brother to accept the offer. However, a fight breaks out as Thor responds impulsively to a frost giant's insult. When a frost giant touches Loki during the battle, he has a strange reaction. As the frost beast is released by Laufey, the Asgardians flee to the Bifrost. Thor defeats the beast, but the team is once more encircled, and the situation now appears hopeless. Laufey declares that the situation is out of control and that the Frost Giants are now at war with Asgard despite Odin's intervention to save the warriors and apologize to him for the intrusion. Odin blasts Laufey away and takes the young Asgardians home after he tries to knife him. Odin releases the 4 companions and confronts Loki and Thor once they return to the Asgard side of the portal. When Thor drags Asgard back into battle, Odin is enraged and declares to him he is unfit to rule. While attempting to reassure his father, Loki is abruptly silenced. After robbing Thor of his abilities and banishing him to Earth, Odin says, "Whoever holds this hammer, if he is worthy, shall possess the power of Thor." He then sends his hammer, Mjolnir, after him. Foster's van quickly strikes Thor on Earth as they proceed towards the storm he just left. Thor groggily wonders where he is and acts hostile to the point where Lewis tases him, rendering him unconscious. He is placed inside their van by the 3 scientists, who then drive him to the hospital. As soon as he awakens, he begins to fight once again before being eventually tranquilized. Selvig tries to get Foster to stay away from him by calling him crazy, but she is intrigued and drawn to him. In response to the recent atmospheric disturbances and the emergence of Thor's hammer, S.H.I.E.L.D. has taken possession of all of the scientists' tools and study when they return to their outpost in town. The group returns to the hospital, but Thor has fled. They are unsure of what to do. They hit the Asgardian man again as they leave in the van, this time knocking him out, but they take him with them this time. He receives clothing from Foster's ex-boyfriend that was worn by a civilian. Thor chooses to visit the location after overhearing people talking about a satellite crash that occurred 50 miles to the west, and Selvig once more tries to get Foster to leave him alone. Thor roams the town while attempting to purchase a horse from a pet shop. Foster shows up and offers to drive him, and the two get into the van and go west. People from the nearby towns gathered at the location of the satellite crash to celebrate and attempt to remove the hammer from the crater. Later, S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up and seizes control of the location, establishing a makeshift camp to research the hammer. Foster and Thor arrive on the scene after dark. Foster hides in a safe place while Thor breaches the camp. Thor finally gets to the hammer but is unable to lift it after defeating numerous agents and being singled out by Clint Barton. He drops to the ground, howling at his helplessness, and does not resist as S.H.I.E.L.D. operatives approach and seize him. The 4 companions of Thor on Asgard start to wonder if Loki was involved in Thor's exile. Odin acknowledges that Loki was stolen from Jotunheim as a newborn and reared as his own, and Loki knows that he is not a true Asgardian. As Odin enters a coma-like state known as the Odin sleep, appointing Loki to serve as acting ruler, Loki is bewildered and furious. When Phil Coulson leaves Thor alone for a moment to answer questions back on Earth, Loki enters the room. Thor is upset when Loki informs him that Odin has died and cannot return to Asgard. With a phony driver's license, Selvig shows up and tells the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that Thor is Foster's ex-husband and is high on steroids. Coulson permits Selvig to take Thor, who sneakily takes Foster's notebook with him as they leave. Back in town, Selvig invites Thor out for a drink while attempting to persuade him to leave Foster alone because of the difficulties he has caused her and would continue to do so. The bond between the two chug Boilermakers. Selvig is brought to Foster's trailer by Thor. Thor discusses the 9 realms and the Bifrost Bridge with Foster as they step outdoors to look at the stars. Heimdall is frozen by Loki, who then meets Laufey using the Bifrost. He strikes a deal with Laufey, promising to let them back into Asgard so they can slay Odin and take their casket in exchange for their peaceful return to their home. Then, Loki gives the Destroyer the order to destroy Thor on Earth. A heat ray is unleashed by the Destroyer as soon as it arrives in the desert of New Mexico. In an effort to bring everyone out safely, Thor and the 3 scientists work together. As Loki, who is able to see and hear what is happening from Asgard, watches and listens, Thor meets the Destroyer and begs him to spare the humans in exchange for himself. Thor receives a devastating backhand slap from the Destroyer, which causes him to fall to the ground seemingly dead. Jane, inconsolable, rushes to the body. Mjolnir escapes the crater and returns to Thor's hand. He regains all of his vitality and life, and his red cloak and armor are once more put on. With Foster's assurance, he effortlessly destroys the Destroyer and makes an attempt to return to Asgard. Through the portal, the Frost Giants enter Asgard and pass by the frozen Heimdall. When Laufey enters Odin's bedroom to kill the Norse god, Loki kills him to give the impression that he is the hero. Despite being frozen, Heimdall is conscious, manages to release himself and returns Thor to Asgard. In order to combat the Frost Giants, Thor moves swiftly. In order to destroy the ice world Jotunheim, Loki travels to the Himmelsjorg and constructs the bridge. The two start fighting as Thor tries to stop him. To block the portal, Thor uses Mjolnir to restrain Loki and begins to destroy the Rainbow Bridge. The two brothers fall into space when the bridge collapses, but Odin rescues them by catching Thor while he is holding Loki's staff. Loki concedes defeat and lets himself fall, vanishing into nothingness. Odin is upset by the course of events, but everything appears to be back to normal on Asgard. As the Bifrost has been destroyed, Thor misses Jane Foster and laments the loss of his brother. However, Heimdall promises him that Foster is looking for him as he peers out over the Rainbow Bridge's severed edge. Back on Earth, Foster is working with S.H.I.E.L.D. with new equipment in a new lab. The Joint Dark Energy Mission Facility is the next stop for Selvig, where he meets Nick Fury. In a briefcase, Fury demonstrates the Tesseract, which he claims might provide limitless power. Selvig repeats Loki's words because of his subtle influence as he appears in a reflection and says, "Well, I guess that's worth a look," but Loki is invisible to Selvig and Fury. Thank you for watching, follow for more.